Hi everyone, Chris Natzke here with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching with your Mind of a Champion tip of the week. I have a question for you. Have you ever experienced in your life something that you wanted to get done, but it's still on your to-do list? It's still out there lingering because you just don't feel like doing it. You just don't feel like getting it started. I know I have. And I guess when I look at all the projects and different things that I'm working on, there are some of those mundane things that need to get done that aren't happening, and that's okay, I guess. But where it really holds me back is when I apply that same way of being, that same way of feeling, that same way of acting to the most important things in my life. The conversations that I need to have, the projects I need to start, the exercise routine that I need to start, the book I need to start writing. All those things happen because we negate those, or we don't start on those because we just don't feel like it. But as I was contemplating this video as well as the blog that goes along with it, I remembered one of my coaches and teachers years ago looking at me and saying, what does feeling like it really have to do anything about it? What does feeling like doing it have anything to do about it? And the point there was, if you found that there's something that's super important for you to accomplish, the way that you're feeling about it in the moment doesn't really have anything to do with it. If you have really made a commitment to make it happen, then make it happen. And it got me thinking of my martial art career. I mean, I guess I could probably come up with a multitude of times when I didn't feel like training. I didn't feel like stretching or kicking pads or sparring or doing forms, but I did. And interestingly enough, when I did, what I found is that those oftentimes were the most productive and enjoyable workouts. Because once I got myself moving, once I got myself in motion, what it did is it impacted the way I was feeling about it. And so in essence, what happens is we find out that behaviors, our feelings follow our behaviors. Our feelings follow our behaviors. When we get ourselves going, now we can actually lean in and be caught up in the momentum. It reminds me of a story. Years ago, I heard of an elderly gentleman. He was in his 90s, but he totally belied his age. He looked like he was several decades younger. And he had this, great, powerful chest and powerful arms and legs and back. And in fact, he had a body that maybe a teenager would envy. And a gentleman came up to him one day and said, how did you get to be in such great shape at your age? And he said, well, Sonny, he said, 70 years ago, I made a commitment to myself. And I said, every day I will do at least one push-up, one sit-up, and one jumping jack. Well, the questioner looked a little confused at what he had said, and then he continued to share, the elderly gentleman continued to share. He said, I knew if I did one, then the rest would be that much easier. If I got myself in motion, the rest would be that much easier. And it also makes me think, when I wrote my book, Black Belt Leadership, that I published back in 2013, that project had been on my list, if you will, for literally years. But I had started it and I stopped it and I just didn't feel like it. And so as a result, it wasn't getting done. And then I read an amazing book called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Highly recommended. And in it, he quotes an author named Somerset Maugham. And Somerset was asked one day, he said, do you write on a disciplined schedule, or do you write because of inspiration? And Maugham simply said, he goes, yeah, I only write when I'm inspired. But it just so happens that I get inspired every day at 9 a.m. So he had created a schedule, he had created something where he could take action, and he allowed the action to create the feeling, the behavior to create the feeling. So I know when I speak about this, I think of a number of opportunities I have in my life right now to get in motion and work on some things. And I thought, if I've got that going on, you probably do too. So what I want to do is share with you 4 ideas that I think that us as leaders can implement. And when we do, we can have transformation in not only getting great things done in our life, but also having a great feeling when we're doing as well. So the first thing is this, is to commit to something small daily. In the personal development world, you'll often hear about this idea of taking massive action. And I think that can be an incredibly effective way of getting things done. But I also think that it oftentimes keeps us back. It holds us back because this massive action, when we look at it at such a grandiose way, it actually intimidates us. We don't even know where to start. But taking small steps every day lead to tremendous results. I recently heard about a guy who had set an intention of logging several miles on his exercise bike. And he had this intention every week what he wanted to do, but it never got done. So rather than do that, what he did is he changed what his action was, and his action then became, Every morning I'm going to get dressed in my workout gear, in my bicycle gear. I'm going to sit on my exercise bike and clip in my feet. That's all I'm going to do. And that's what he committed to. But as soon as he got on the bike and he clipped in his feet, then he figured, well, I might as well start pedaling. And that pedaling turned into more pedaling. And pretty soon he started to meet his goals. So where do you have an opportunity in your life to get the motion going, to start to get yourself clipped in those pedals so you can get moving and get that one thing done per day that'll move you in the direction you want? Number 2 is to ask for someone to hold you capable. So I know when I was in my martial art competitive career, as I mentioned, there were times that I did not want to work out. But I also knew that when I had my training partner waiting for me at the studio, I was not going to let him down. And in the personal development world, we talk oftentimes about accountability partners. And I think that's an incredibly important tool to have, someone who can hold you to that standard. But I like to change that word around a little bit. My good friend Kellyanne Zelinsky has helped me with this distinction, is the word accountable oftentimes has a negative connotation to it. But she says, why don't we hold each other capable? So rather than holding each other accountable to what we said we're going to do, hold ourselves capable to our greatness. And that has a much more positive indicator for me. So who do you have in your life that can hold you capable? Number 3 is schedule it. If there's something important that needs to be done, get it on your calendar. I know that many times, and I've lived this in my own life, is the relationships and the activities that are most important oftentimes take a back seat to the things that are happening right now. And so, the dinner's out with your significant other, your one-on-one with your kids, the exercise program you're going to start, the spiritual exercise program you're going to start each morning. It takes a back seat and it gets done when you get around to it. But what I found is when those things are really important, what I need to do is schedule them. They become anchors in my calendar, and then I schedule everything else around them. So if you have something that you really want to do and make sure you do consistently, get it on the schedule. And then finally is make sure that after you complete that you acknowledge your completion, you acknowledge your success. Celebrate it. Because I think one thing that we do is we go from one thing to the next and we don't really appreciate what we've accomplished. But if you sit in that feeling of gratitude toward yourself and that appreciation for what you've done, and then what you do is you store that in your memory banks, the next time you're thinking about not wanting to take action because you don't feel like it, harken back to that feeling, how great it felt to get something accomplished, and use that as a catalyst to take you forward. So there you have it, folks. There's my idea today on making sure that we understand that behaviors are the catalyst for our feelings. If we want to feel good, if we want to feel accomplished, don't wait to get started until you feel like it. Take the action and know that through the action, the positive feelings are going to come. So this has been Chris Natzke with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching. I so appreciate you being on this call with me. Again, as I always ask, if you've liked this information, please make a comment, share it with somebody, like it on Facebook, love it on Facebook if you want to. Also, if you've got some other ideas you think that you'd like to hear me speak on, please put those in the comments below as well. So once again, Chris Natzke here with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching, and we'll see you next time on the Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week.